Narwal and Devangana Kalita a short while ago. They've come out of jail. And one by one, we'll go to both. They'll both join us. Natasha and Devangana will join us. But first, I want to come to you, Natasha and Devangana. Natasha, you first. How does it feel to be out of jail? Your initial reactions now that you're finally, in a way, at least free in some sense. Your reactions, Natasha.
Words to describe the feeling that, and right now I'm just very, very overwhelmed by all the media here, but also and the challenge in the Supreme Court is still pending, so one can't, it's still like fingers crossed, but it's still the kind of order which has come out from the Delhi High Court really gives us a lot of hope and strength, and restores our faith in the Indian judiciary that they will stand for the rights of people and democratic dissent in this country.
I want to ask you this, Natasha. It's been a tough 13 months for you. During this period, you lost your father, Mahabir Narwal, a few months ago. You couldn't be by his bedside when he passed away. Does that, in a sense, still rankle with you that there is anger against the system, the police, which dubbed you as terrorists, charged you under UAPA, tried to even delay your release till the very last moment? Is there anger at the way the last 13 months have gone, particularly with what happened with your father?
Of course, there is anger, there is sadness. That, I mean, I think that's the only thing which, otherwise, I don't think surviving this year has been anything more difficult than that. And it is because of being incarcerated, the kind of cost that that must have wrought on him, his health, and that is how he succumbed to COVID, and in the kind of circumstances which were there in the country, for not just him, and angry for every life lost in this pandemic due to the failure of the state to provide adequate health services to the country. And my heart goes out to everyone who have lost their dear ones.
Any regrets though in any way? As you look back, any regrets about your involvement in last year's protests against the Citizenship Amendment Act, which then the police said was part of this wider conspiracy that you and Devangana and Asif were accused of during the Delhi riots? Any regrets about your involvement in those protests, Natasha?
Regrets? I don't know. I don't think I have any regrets for my participation in this movement for asserting our democratic rights of dissent and demanding accountability from the state. I think the only what you can call regret is that we could not carry the movement forward, and it was suppressed in the brutal way that the state did it. And I hope that the struggle still continues in other ways and we get justice.
You know, you and Devangana, I know, and she'll join us in a moment, were trying to reach out to other detainees as well as, in jail itself. I'm told that you were doing your own little reforms, getting the detainees vaccinated. How has that period in jail changed you, suddenly from JNU to jail?
So, I mean, I don't know how it has changed us exactly. It will, I think, take a while for us to also understand all the changes we have went through. But I think one thing which, I don't know if we call change, but a realization of how the system for incarceration really works and how it dehumanizes everyone who is inside these walls, inside these gates, as if they're not human beings anymore, they do not have any rights anymore. And we have not thought about that much in our struggles. So I think that will be an essential part of our struggle even now, that how do we think about the incarceration and what are the kind of costs people have to bear with their lives due to being implicated in various kinds of cases, and what it does to, a human life.
I finally got through to Devangana. My audio is finally coming through to you, Devangana. So you're also happy. I can see you beaming. I spoke to your mother, Kalpana Kalita, a couple of days ago. Remarkable woman, was very dignified. Your initial reactions now that you're finally out after you've been released on bail?
It is still a thought of disbelief that we have stepped out of these gates and these walls. And yeah, and this almost in some sense shocking, because the bail order had come 2 days back and we still were locked inside for procedural issues or whatever was going on. So, and it's still, it's still not over. We are still waiting what the Supreme Court will say, but at least tonight we are glad to be standing on a free street under the open skies. And tomorrow is her birthday.
Oh, happy birthday. Tomorrow is your birthday. Happy birthday. I didn't know that. When I spoke to your mother, Devangana, she said she's very proud of you. What do you want to say to your mother, a professor in Dibrugarh, Kalpana Kalita, today?
Well, to my mother, I would like to say that it wouldn't have been possible for me to survive jail if she hadn't sent me those letters, if she didn't give that unflinching support that she has given me. And of course, maybe I am here today outside these gates because of the values she taught me as a child, to be an independent woman, to never bow down to anybody, to always think for myself.
Any regrets that you have also? Any regrets about your involvement, as I asked Natasha as well, in the protests against CAA, which eventually led you to be arrested under the UAPA?
There are definitely no regrets in terms of the movement or the protest because of which we were inside that jail and inside these bars. And I guess the women, the protesters who supported us during that time and with whom we protested, I think it is their prayers, their duas that has gotten us out of these doors today. And of course, thank you to the fantastic order of the Delhi High Court.
I'm loving your smiles. They're infectious. The Delhi High Court, though, virtually called your arrest wrongful and illegal. Do you feel, therefore, in a way, the state owes you something? What do you want from the state? You know, the way in which 13 months of your life have been lost, the trauma that you've gone through. I asked whether there's anger, there's sadness. Either of you can answer. Do you want some kind of compensation for what you have gone through? Natasha, Devangana?
Of course, there is a lot of anger. What we have lost in this 1 year, and but I really don't think anything can really compensate for that. Especially as you mentioned, my father. I mean, it's something I think which just cannot be compensated by any means. And I think I speak not just for myself, as I said earlier. So many people who have met the same fate, and they are not even at least I was allowed to go out afterwards and be with my family. But so many people inside who have met the same fate have not been granted any kind of consideration that they are also human beings and they might want to be with their families in these difficult times. Like as you mentioned, our petition, even for calling your family members daily, it is such a huge struggle for people to do that, to be able to do that, for any contact to happen. And people do not even have proper legal representation. And so all of that, I think that the anger stems not just from our wrongful incarceration, but of so many others with whom we have spent the past 1 year and with whose support we have survived the past 1 year. Yeah, because I guess cases of political prisoners get highlighted. But under this system, there are many people who are incarcerated under long trials which have been going on forever. And at a point when the courts are not even functioning, people are still languishing in jail, which are still overcrowded.
You know, is that in a way the biggest experience from jail? That it is far too overcrowded, far too many people in Tihar jail? What was the, dare I say, the most difficult thing for both of you in jail, being in jail for these 13 months?
I think the most difficult thing about being in jail is to kind of, witness the helplessness that surrounds you, because
the people who actually end up in jail are the people who cannot afford legal representation, who cannot afford to bribe the police, who cannot afford to all these mechanisms through which people escape long incarceration. So that creates a unexplainable pain and a helplessness which when we were inside we tried to address through whatever little ways that is possible, but to grieve somebody's death inside imprisoned locks, to have children who are locked inside every night and they are crying ki khol do bahar jana hai, that's a very it's injustice which is unimaginable.
And to witness their, children who are not have even seen the outside world even once, and sometimes when they hear Rihai is happening, they sometimes pretend to pack their bags and say, Rihai aa gayi, main ja rahi hu. But you know that it's not gonna come for them. I think that's one of the most heartbreaking things.
I can imagine the trauma that you would have, in some way, you're not showing it today, that you would have faced being in jail. But what is the one thing you want to do? Let's talk positive. Now that you're in a way free, I know there's a Supreme Court bail order also or appeal by the Delhi High Court. How are you going to celebrate your freedom? It's Devangana's birthday tomorrow. Natasha, how are you going to celebrate?
Want to be with our family and friends finally. And rest will follow, I guess.
Yeah, I just want to sit under a night sky for a whole night.
Yeah, and look at the moon.
Sit under the sky and look at the moon. Devangana, your mother Kalpana said that you were missing her fish curry in jail. Is that true?
Yes, oh yes, of course. I want to eat non-vegetarian food finally after 1 year. Which is...
Why not? Why not?
I think, that was one of the most difficult things for Devangana.
Non-veg food?
No fish curry in jail for a year.
Yeah, well, Assam, Bengal, no fish curry is terrible. But, this has become, Natasha, Devangana, in some way, this entire CA debate, your being incarcerated, a bit of an ideological fight for your political views. Even now on social media, other spaces, there will be those who will target you, call you anti-national, call you, dare I say, terrorists. Do you have a message for those opposing your view, your political views today?
Well, I think we would like to say to them that we will not be scared by any kind of attacks or whatever they say to us. We have, I think, seen the worst they could do to us and we have survived. And
सारे पिंजरों को तोड़ेंगे, इतिहास की धारा मोड़ेंगे.
अरे वाह.
And we will continue to fight, we'll continue to struggle.
As I said, I find in your smiles a certain energy that, nothing is going to sort of hold you back. You've come out of jail after 13 months. I'm sure you've gone through a lot of personal trauma. Your natural smiles tell me that nothing has intimidated you. Am I right that you're not feeling intimidated in any way by the fact that the Delhi police and the state machinery put you in jail, branded you terrorists?
Well, I guess one thing which was really helpful during our incarceration was that we were together, and there was also Gulfisha, who we had hoped would be walking out with us, but we might have to wait a little bit longer for her to walk out of those doors. But being together and also having a community with the inside prison as well, and then all the overwhelming support outside, I think all of it together combined allowed this survival to happen.
Natasha, you have a final thought, and I come back to your father. I saw an interview on YouTube that he did. Mahabir Narwal seemed a very strong, resilient man, much like Devangana's mother, again a professor in Dibrugarh. Your father today would be a very happy man. That must be the one regret. And if he was here, he'd be the one person I'm sure you'd want to meet first.
Yes, I think he would have been the happiest.
There's one thing I want to say about Uncle, because he has been the most amazing support for us. And one thing which one of my friends said, usually parents are supposed to be proud of their daughters, but he was a parent we were all proud of, Somebody who with his support and unflinching understanding has made this possible for all of us to survive this.
I want to tell the two of you, I've been doing interviews for well over 3 decades. Today, I find an energy in you which is infectious. There will be people out there who may disagree with your political views, but I think they will respect you as Indian citizens for having the energy, coming out of jail, speaking the way you have. I know you want to meet all your friends. You've taken this time off to talk to me. But I think somewhere the spirit of our constitutional republic is alive in you young girls. So, Natasha, Devangana, stay well, sleep well, under the moon if you have to. But God bless, and you can have your fish curry, and happy birthday. Thank you both again. Thank you. That was something special, because I think when you go to jail and spend 13 months and are branded a terrorist as a student activist for your participation in political protests, and then come out with these smiles, natural smiles, there's a message for all of us. We are trapped in our hate and bitterness towards each other. These are voices defiant, but also reflecting the spirit of this nation. A spirit where every Indian has the right to dissent. The right to protest is not outlawed, and it is not terrorism, for God's sake.